My name's Faye, and if you ask my family, they'd probably describe me as the quiet one, the soft one, or sometimes, if they're feeling particularly cruel, the wasted potential. I'm 26 years old, unmarried, no kids, and, according to my mother, already falling behind. What they don't know, what they've never cared to ask, is that I've been serving my country for the past 6 years, not in some desk job, not filing paperwork or answering phones. No, I've been in the thick of it. Training, missions, deployments I can't even fully talk about. I've earned ranks, commendations, respect. But the thing about secrecy is, it doesn't look like much to the outside world. To my family, I'm just a girl who travels a lot, who never stays in one place long, who never brings a boyfriend home for holidays. They don't see sacrifice, they only see absence. Grandpa was different. He was the only one who noticed when my hands came back scarred, when my posture changed from timid to steady. He'd look at me across the dinner table, his eyes soft, and say, "I'm proud of you, Faye." No questions asked, no explanations needed, just faith in me. That's why losing him feels like losing the one safe harbor in a family that never tried to understand me. My father is a workaholic who measures worth in promotions and paychecks. My mother thrives on appearances, always comparing me to Liam, her golden child. And Liam, well, Liam is the poster boy. He's tall, loud, charming in a slick kind of way, with a high-paying corporate job and a wife who posts curated Instagram reels about their perfect life. Me? I show up to family gatherings in plain clothes, hair tied back, tired eyes from whatever assignment I just returned from, and I become the punchline. Still no ring. Faye, when are you going to get serious about your career? Don't you get lonely? They don't realize I've led teams, saved lives, that the silence they mock isn't weakness, it's discipline, that the weight I carry isn't failure, it's responsibility. But I've never defended myself, not once, because Grandpa always told me, the truth reveals itself in time. Don't waste your strength proving yourself to people determined not to see you. No. Standing at his funeral with my brother's words still stinging my ears, I realized I'd followed that advice maybe too well. My family had never seen the truth, and I had let them. What they didn't know is that today, this very day, would be the day the truth walked into their lives whether I spoke it or not. And it would change everything. After the service, we gathered in the church hall for the reception. The air smelled like coffee, stale bread rolls, and lilies, a sickly mix that made me want to bolt. People milled about, hugging, whispering condolences, plates of food trembling in their hands. I stood near the back, trying to stay invisible. Of course, Liam wouldn't let me. Faye, his voice carried across the room, too loud, too polished for mourning. There you are. He strode toward me, one hand in his pocket, the other balancing a glass of wine, even though it was barely noon. His wife trailed behind him, perfect hair, perfect dress, eyes scanning the room like she was afraid grief might stain her outfit. "You know," Liam said as he stopped in front of me, his grin shark-like, "Mom and Dad were just saying how different you looked. You've been traveling so much. Faye, what is it you do again?" My stomach clenched. He knew exactly what he was doing, drawing attention, making me squirm. A few heads turned toward us, curiosity flickering. Before I could answer, Mom swooped in, clutching a tissue dramatically. "She doesn't like to talk about it. Liam, you know that. Honestly, Faye, if you'd just settle down like your brother, maybe you wouldn't feel so adrift." I opened my mouth, but Dad chimed in, voice flat. "Your brother got a big promotion last week, vice president now. We're all so proud." And there it was, the usual chorus, Liam basking in it like sunlight, me, shrinking, except this time, something inside me resisted. My chest burned, my hands curled into fists at my sides. "I'm not adrift," I said, my voice quieter than I wanted, but steady. Liam smirked. "Of course not. I mean, who needs stability, right? As long as you're, what was it again? Backpacking? Freelancing? Oh, soul-searching." He laughed, and a few people around us chuckled politely, not realizing how cruel he was being. The room blurred around me, but one thing stood sharp in my mind, the sound of engines outside, growing louder. My pulse quickened. I knew what was happening. I'd been told they'd come, but I didn't expect it so soon. Not here. Not in the middle of this circus. I glanced toward the stained glass windows. Shadows moved. Boots hit the ground. And suddenly, the church doors swung open. The military escort stepped inside, crisp uniforms catching the light, medals gleaming, presence commanding silence. The air shifted instantly, conversations cut off, heads turned. And they were here for me. The heavy doors of the church groaned shut behind them, sealing the hall in a strange, reverent silence, the kind of silence that crackles before a storm. The soldiers, 3 men, 1 woman, moved with precision. Polished boots clicked against the wooden floor. Every step measured. The leader, a broad-shouldered officer with steel-gray eyes, scanned the room until his gaze landed on me. And then, in front of everyone, he stopped, saluted sharply, and said, "Sergeant Faye Morgan, we're here for you." Gasps rippled across the hall. A fork clattered against a plate somewhere in the back. My mother's tissue slipped from her hand. Me? My throat tightened. The part of me trained for composure straightened instinctively, shoulders back, chin up. But another part, the little girl who had spent years shrinking under my family's judgment, was trembling inside. Liam laughed, but it was jagged this time, not smooth. "Wait, what? Sergeant? You're joking." The officer didn't even look at him. His eyes never left mine. "We'd like a moment outside, Sergeant. It's urgent." Dozens of eyes bored into me. My skin prickled. I could feel the weight of every relative, every neighbor, every family friend who had ever whispered that I was a disappointment. Now they were staring like they didn't know me at all. Mom's voice broke the silence, shrill and desperate. "There must be some mistake. My daughter, she's not military. She flailed. Like even she didn't know what word to land on. She's just Faye." The female soldier finally turned toward her, voice crisp but calm. "Ma'am, with respect, your daughter has served with distinction for 6 years. We're not mistaken." My father's face was pale, his lips pressed so tight they nearly disappeared. He looked like a man realizing he'd been blindsided in a deal he thought he controlled. Liam's smirk faltered into a scowl. "So you've been lying all this time? To us? To family?" Heat rose in my chest. "I wasn't lying," I said, my voice sharp now, sharper than it had ever been in their presence. "I was protecting you, protecting everyone. You think it was easy? You think I wanted to keep secrets?" The officer cleared his throat gently. "Sergeant, we'll wait outside until you're ready." With that, the escort turned and left, leaving behind a room thick with tension and disbelief. The moment the doors closed, the noise erupted. My mother's wail, my father's booming demand, "Why didn't you tell us?" Liam's mocking tone twisting into rage. The room was no longer a reception, it was a battlefield. And for the first time, I wasn't going to retreat. "Protecting us?" Liam's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. He stepped closer, towering over me as if height alone gave him authority. "Don't spin this into some noble act. Faye, you were hiding. You were ashamed. That's why you never told us." My chest heaved, anger bubbling hotter than my grief. "Ashamed? You think I was ashamed of serving? Of risking my life while you sat in your office chair, padding your bank account?" Gasps echoed. Aunt Marianne muttered, "Lord have mercy." Liam's eyes narrowed. "Oh, here we go. The martyr act. Classic Faye. You just love to play the victim." My mother grabbed his arm, but she wasn't defending me, she was trying to calm him for appearances. "Not here, Liam. People are watching." "Let them watch," I snapped. My voice shook, but it carried. For once, I didn't care if the whole town heard. Let them all see how this family treats the one person who wasn't too selfish to give something real. My father slammed his hand on a table. Plates rattled. "Enough. You embarrassed this family with your secrets. If your grandfather knew." "He knew." My shout cracked. Raw. "He knew everything. He was proud of me when none of you were." Silence slammed down, heavy and cold. My father's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. My mother's face crumpled, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Liam looked confused, almost like the ground beneath him had shifted and he couldn't find balance. The truth hung in the air, undeniable. Grandpa had been my only confidant. And now that he was gone, the truth was mine to carry or to unleash. The door creaked. The officer stepped back inside, patient but firm. "Sergeant, it's time." I nodded, my body buzzing with adrenaline. I walked past Liam, his arm brushing mine, his breath hot with venom as he hissed, "This changes nothing. You'll always be nothing." But when I pushed open the doors and stepped into the sunlight, the escort waiting in formation, the flags fluttering, the townsfolk gathered outside staring in awe, something inside me shifted. For once, I didn't feel small. For once, I wasn't hiding. And I could feel Liam's stare burning into my back, the beginning of a war neither of us had expected. Outside the church, the air felt different, sharper. The low hum of the convoy engines lingered like thunder waiting to roll. The soldiers stood in a line, posture crisp, eyes forward, their presence undeniable. And then I realized we had an audience. Neighbors, old classmates, friends of Grandpa's, they'd all drifted outside when they heard the noise. Now they stood in little clusters, whispering, their eyes darting between the convoy and me. "There she is, Sergeant? Faye, our Faye?" The words wrapped around me, unfamiliar. For once, it wasn't mockery, it was awe. My mother rushed out behind me, her heels clicking frantically. "There's no need for this spectacle," she hissed to no one in particular. Then to me, "Faye, tell them to leave, people will talk." "Good," I said flatly, "let them." Her face pinched, scandalized. "You don't understand, this isn't the image." "Image?" My voice cracked like a whip. "Grandpa's body isn't even cold, and you're worried about image?" The soldiers didn't move, but I felt the quiet strength radiating from them. They were here for me, no explanations required. That silent support felt like armor, especially with my mother shrinking back at the edge of their discipline. Then Dad emerged, his tie loosened, jaw tight. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't need to. His disappointment always cut deeper when spoken softly. "You should have told us, Faye. Do you know how this makes us look?" "Maybe for once," I said, pulse hammering. "This isn't about how you look." The crowd murmured. I could feel the shift, people seeing me not as the quiet girl they'd written off but as someone they hadn't bothered to know. And then Liam pushed through the doorway like a storm breaking free. His face was red, his polished veneer cracked. "So this is your big moment, huh?" The little secret soldier finally steps into the spotlight. "Don't fool yourself, Faye, nobody cares." But the way heads turned toward me, the way whispers rippled, proved he was wrong. And he knew it. I didn't answer him right away. I let the silence stretch, the weight of the convoy behind me doing more to silence his arrogance than I ever could. Finally, I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. "Why does it bother you so much, Liam, that I'm not the failure you've been saying I am?" His jaw flexed. "Because you lied, to all of us. You built this little secret life so you could come home and play the victim." I almost laughed, bitter and sharp. "Victim? Liam, I've patched wounds on children caught in crossfire. I've carried brothers in arms in body bags. You sit in your corner office and call that victimhood?" His eyes flickered. For a split second, I saw something, fear, envy, but he masked it quickly with disdain. "Don't think a few medals make you better than me. You're still the girl who never fit in, still the sister who couldn't keep up." The words stung, because part of me still believed them, part of me still felt like the little girl overshadowed at every birthday, every holiday, every family dinner. But standing here, uniformed men and women waiting for me, the town watching, it wasn't the whole truth anymore. I leaned in. Grandpa knew the truth, and now, so does everyone else. You don't get to define me anymore. His nostrils flared, his hand twitched at his side, like he wanted to lash out but couldn't, not with so many eyes on him. Instead, he sneered, "This little show won't last, people will forget, and when they do, you'll still be you." Maybe he was right, maybe the whispers of awe would fade, maybe the convoy would drive away, and the town would move on. But for the first time in my life, I realized it didn't matter. Because I wasn't living for them, not anymore. The officer stepped forward again, his voice calm but commanding. "Sergeant, time." I squared my shoulders, Liam tried to hold my gaze, but I watched his eyes falter, and in that moment, I knew this wasn't just about me stepping into my truth. It was about him finally losing his grip on the version of me he needed to feel superior. And he hated it. As the officer waited, I hesitated at the church steps, caught between two worlds. Behind me, my family stood fractured, their faces masks of anger, confusion, shame. In front of me, the soldiers stood steady, unflinching, like a second family I'd earned through fire and grit. And beyond them, the crowd buzzed, eyes wide, mouths whispering, the story already spreading like wildfire. I could almost hear it. Faye Morgan, the quiet girl, the failure, a soldier all along? It should have felt vindicating. In some ways, it did, but beneath the adrenaline was a heavy ache. Because this wasn't how I wanted Grandpa's funeral to be remembered. He deserved peace. He deserved dignity. Instead, it had turned into a battlefield between me and Liam. I glanced at the casket, still visible through the church's open door. For a second, I imagined Grandpa's voice, warm and steady, "Stand tall, Faye. Don't let them shrink you." But standing tall meant exposing myself. Standing tall meant the war with Liam wasn't over, it was just beginning. The murmurs of the crowd swelled as Liam shoved through them, his voice sharp enough to slice through the autumn air. "She's lying to all of you," he barked, his polished shoes crunching gravel. "Don't fall for this act. She's always been dramatic, always desperate for attention. This is just another stunt." A few people frowned, exchanging looks, but others, neighbors who remembered me tutoring their kids for free, classmates who'd seen me quietly take insults at family gatherings, shook their heads. The tide was turning, and Liam felt it slipping from him. "Liam," I said softly, but my voice carried, "You don't get it, do you? This isn't about you. It never was." His laugh was sharp, bitter. "Everything's about me, Faye, because without me, you're nothing, you're just the shadow." The words hit like a blow, and maybe once, they would have sunk me, but not anymore. The officer's voice came again, calm but firm, "Sergeant, we need to move." And with that, the fragile thread holding Liam together finally snapped. Liam lunged forward, grabbing my arm, his grip tight enough to bruise. Gasps rippled through the crowd, but his words were harsher than his hold. "You think you're special now? You think a uniform makes you better than me? You'll crawl back, Faye. You always do." I yanked my arm free, my training kicking in, not aggression, just calm control. I looked him dead in the eye, voice steady as a blade. "I've crawled through things you couldn't imagine, Liam, and I never once needed you to pull me out." His face twisted, the mask of charm gone, replaced by something uglier. Spit flew as he hissed, "You're a liar, a fraud, a pathetic excuse for a daughter, a sister." Enough. The word ripped from me before I could stop it, raw and thunderous. It silenced the entire yard. Even the wind seemed to pause. My chest heaved. I've bled for people I'll never meet. I've held dying men's hands so they wouldn't be alone. I've sacrificed pieces of myself so others could come home. And you stand here at Grandpa's funeral and dare call me pathetic? You're the one who's hollow, Liam, not me. He staggered, as if the words themselves had weight. For a flicker of a moment, shame crossed his face, but he smothered it quickly, his pride too thick. The crowd, though, wasn't fooled. Murmurs turned to open disapproval. Someone muttered, "Disgraceful," aimed at him, not me. For once, the spotlight wasn't his, and he hated it. The officer stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on my shoulder, not pulling, just steadying. "Sergeant, time." I nodded, though my eyes never left Liam's. "You'll never break me again," I said quietly, but loud enough for him and everyone else to hear. Then I turned, walking toward the convoy as Liam stood frozen, fists clenched, face burning. For the first time in my life, I wasn't walking away in shame. I was walking away in strength. The gravel crunched under my boots as I walked toward the convoy. Every step felt heavier and lighter all at once, heavy with the years of silence I had carried, lighter with the truth finally spilling into daylight. The escort snapped to attention as I approached. Salutes rose like a wall of respect. For a moment, the world blurred, my grief, my anger, my exhaustion all colliding, but their discipline anchored me. I returned the salute, steady, sharp, the way Grandpa always told me to stand when I believed in something. Behind me, I could still hear the murmurs. The crowd was buzzing, piecing together what had just unfolded, and Liam, my brother, the golden child, was left behind in the wreckage of his own words. His voice cracked, desperate now, no longer mocking. "Faye, wait!" I froze. The crowd went quiet again, watching. My shoulders stiffened, but I turned. He stood there, chest heaving, face flushed. For the first time, I saw him without the armor of arrogance. He looked small, lost. "You can't just," he faltered, his jaw clenched, eyes darting to the staring crowd, then softer, almost a whisper, "You can't leave like this." I swallowed hard. My throat burned, not from anger this time, but from the ache of finality. "Liam, I left a long time ago. You just never noticed." His mouth opened, but no words came. Maybe deep down he knew there was nothing left to say. I turned back to the officer, nodding. He opened the door of the SUV, but before I stepped inside, I looked once more toward the church, the casket. "Grandpa. Thank you," I whispered, though no one else could hear, "for believing in me when no one else did." And with that, I climbed into the vehicle. The door shut with a solid, echoing thud. The convoy pulled away, gravel spraying softly behind us. Through the tinted glass, I saw Liam shrinking in the distance, his figure swallowed by the crowd, his grip on me finally broken. The ride was quiet, except for the low hum of the engine. The officer across from me studied me for a moment before speaking. "Family can be harder than any battlefield, Sergeant." I managed a tired smile. "You're not wrong." As the convoy carried me away from the funeral, I thought about the years I'd spent folding myself small to fit the shape my family wanted me to be. The girl who never spoke up, who let her brother's words sting in silence, who believed she had to earn love by shrinking herself. But standing there in front of Grandpa's grave, I realized something. Shrinking doesn't protect you. It only starves you. I had lived two lives, the one my family thought they knew, and the one I had actually fought for. And for the first time, I let them collide. It was messy, painful, even humiliating at moments, but it was real. And the truth is, that's all I ever wanted, to be seen for who I am, not who they decided I should be. Liam's words would probably haunt me for a while. My parents' disappointment might never fade, but the crowd's whispers, the soldiers' salutes, Grandpa's quiet pride echoing in my memory, they reminded me that validation doesn't always come from where we expect it. Sometimes it comes from the people we serve, from the strangers who respect us, from within ourselves. When the convoy turned onto the main road, I closed my eyes and let the weight roll off my shoulders. For years, I'd let Liam's shadow cover me, but shadows only exist when there's light, and I had finally stepped into mine. The moral? Sometimes, the people who should love you most will be the ones who try hardest to dim your light. Don't let them. The truth about who you are, your worth, your strength, your story will reveal itself in time, and when it does, no amount of mockery, jealousy, or betrayal can take it away. Because at the end of the day, the only approval that matters is your own.